Today I'm going to take a look at the fire issue in Southern California. I made a video about this last year, and I was kind of like going through that video again, and there were a couple of different propositions in that video where I was talking about using drones for for the purpose of containment and suppression of fire. As well, I was thinking like a wider, like what's going to be the wider implication of some of the climate related trends, and if these trends continue to happen, then what's going to be needed. And the line of thought was that we will at some point in the future have to move a lot of people from one region to another, and so that's a big question of infrastructure and the ability to be able to create constructs through which something like that can happen. Now, I'm not a climate scientist, so I don't know what I'm talking about there, but that was like more of a thought along the lines of like how some of the extreme climate events may happen. I don't know, like, so if that's like I don't know what number you want to put there, but if that's a like a 90, and I don't want to do in like, like I don't like, because I'm not a climate scientist and I'm not a fire expert, and I'm not a forest fire expert, so I don't know what number I would put for the situation that we're seeing in areas like California, also Australia, and parts of Russia. I think Siberia has a lot of forest fires going on. So these like the main fires going on Earth right now. Now the thing is, from the perspective of evolution of how things are at the crust of the Earth, fires happen all the time. Forests do get burned for a variety of reasons. Mostly, I would say stuff gets dry, or like lightning strikes seems to be like, if you look at the history of Earth, and if there were fires, then I would think lightning would be the most probable cause of all the fires that have happened. But now, with the expansion of civilization into what may have been like, it is different kind of terrains, or like things like air condition. With the advent of the air condition, we as humans have been able to go into places like the Sun Belt, like places like Arizona and Texas, even Nevada. Like if you look at the pioneers, I wouldn't think like this would have been the choice that the pioneers would have wanted to migrate to. But like as time went on and as inventions came about, I think there's a correlation with regards to certain inventions happening and people deciding to live and work in places whereby the environment is different, or it's not the ideal range of temperature that a human would want to live in or be comfortable living in. So where I'm going with this line of thought again is, if some of those events that I mentioned are 80 or 90 on the spectrum, I don't know where the current fire situation would sit. So let me share my screen. I'm gonna do a brain kind of just share what I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, right? So one of the things I was this is the actual video I made and published last fall, and it was no surprise that I was like, I spoke about 3 innovations in particular. It was not a surprise that I was talking about a real-time dashboard, because I think this was pretty close to or after a hackathon that I was working on. And Davian was one of the fellows, and Davian and I forget the other guy's name, Marty. Anyways, two of the fellows from that hackathon they wanted to build this dashboard that would showcase what's going on and what kind of help is needed. And I thought that was a fantastic idea. That was, I think something like that is much needed and could evolve in a healthy set of ways now in the future. So like, I was hoping like somebody like Davian would watch this video. I don't know if I shared this video with him, and kind of take their invention to the next stage. And I was thinking of a couple ideas in regards to like training neural networks and using computer vision to be able to spot fire. And we could either use the data from satellites or have floating constructs like blimp that monitor the terrain and spot for abnormalities. There's particular technologies that do this well. I can think of one at the top of my head, but I'm sure there's a whole range of technologies enabled on top of some like, we're talking like neural networks and just kind of pattern recognition, and certain triggers would kick in way before a fire has actually spread. So it depends how you enable something like this. I was thinking of drones that could be at the back of a fire truck. So I was thinking these drones could fill them up with water and autonomously head towards the area where they're needed. So where is this? Yeah, like right now, like, so what I was thinking is there doesn't seem to be a device that is specifically designed for leveraging some kind of a fire suppression technology to do that. So it looks like for the purpose of fire suppression, we use a vehicle of sorts to do this purpose. So a fire truck is a truck. A helicopter that is putting literally a bucket into a pool is a helicopter. And an airplane that is filled with some kind of a fire suppressant material is an airplane. So I think you get my point. There are no inventions that are specifically designed for the explicit purpose of putting out fires. I think, I'm not sure, but if there was something like a AfWerx kind of a model for fire, then a lot of innovations could be pumped out of in a safe way. Obviously, it's like, not to say AfWerx not safe. I hope my words are not taken out of context. But like if there was an engine to push innovation on the fire, like required from the perspective of like, so going back to the comment I just made, there is no device invention that has been specifically designed for the purpose of putting out fires. A fire truck is a truck. I'm repeating myself. And airplanes and helicopters are that. So if we had to design something like this from the ground up, then we'd look at existing state technology. So what has happened then is like Firetruck, like if you look at it, like it's a pretty complicated, to me at least, from a non-educated, I'm not a firefighter, so to me it seems very complicated to me. Is like all these dials and hooks and like knobs and whatnot, and so you definitely need to be trained in order to be able to like operate a machine like that. But if I was going to redesign the fire truck, then I would, or sorry, like if I had to design a cluster of innovations in order to be able to put out fires, then I would look at what technologies exist today for me to be able to enable the vision of putting out fires safely, securely, and doing it in a manner that doesn't negatively impact the ecology as well as uh, life around us. So whether it's animals or insects, we want to enable technology that negatively harms the environment at the expense of putting out the fire. I mean, technically speaking, we have like a lot of drones flying in the air on a continual basis, but that's probably not going to be very good for the ecology because it's going to suck up a lot of insects, bats, and other creatures. So as you have more of these devices going on, if we were going to spread more of these devices in the air, the actual population of some of the beings that I mentioned would start going down. And insects are already on the decline. I don't know what the reason is. It's probably because we have like a lot of cars that are probably spread out through the vast regions of Earth, and we're encroaching into other parts of the ecology. But it's a very important issue because if the insects die, then food production is going to take a big hit. Anyway, so we have to be mindful of how certain technologies are scaling with regards to the impact that scaling is having on the ecology. This is a wider conversation with regards to this phenomena that we are engaged in, whereby we are trading nature for wealth, and these models are not sustainable. And anyway, so that very important conversations put aside for just. But yeah, if I was going to design a series of innovations that would help with the problem of putting out fires, then I would try to leverage autonomous autonomous designs in order to be able to do so. But I would put humans in the loop. Obviously, I would put humans in the loop. So the fire, so there's a huge opportunity here to be able to rethink how how we put out fires or how we even detect fires. So I was taking a look at some technologies, and let me see if I can pull this up. Drones. So I searched for drones for firefighting, and this was one of the drones I realized. So this can go up 900 plus feet, and I hope it's okay to like share this because it's on this website. It's Robotic Business Review. So I'm not going to show the whole video, but you basically have this particular drone can retain a charge for 30 minutes, I think. So this is the fire ladder. So fire truck ladder can reach 100 feet. This one can reach 900 feet. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can actually lift a human up. So it's pretty powerful. So then next one I notice is this Chinese, it's a flying car company, but they retrofitted their flying car to put out fires. And so it looks like this. I'm gonna skip through some of the details. So it breaks the window, and then it pumps out a fire suppression foam. Um, Not exactly on topic, because what we're dealing with right now is not fires in a like in the city area. Like the fires are kind of really spread out. I was trying to like pull up a adequate map of a so like California is a big state, obviously. So you've got like Oregon at the top, you got Nevada on the west, or sorry, the east, and you got like places like Arizona and Mexico towards this yeah, east, southeastern, and southern regions. So I was trying to pull up an actual map of where the fires are. I think it's like it's kind of like spread out. So I don't know what a good resource for something like this would be. So this is an independent community effort. So again, like I don't know what an ideal source for figuring out where the fires are would be. But what happens if I seems like fires across the eastern seaboard? Like wonder if they're only collecting data from like the west coast, and but if I focus on the California region, then like I think the bubbles would represent how big the fires are. So I don't know like what would be the one source that you could go to be able to figure out the extent of the fires. Now let's think about this logically. Even if the AfWerx kind of model was implemented for, let's just focus on fire, not like the wider climate change. So if that model was implemented and you've got like innovations coming out for the intended purpose of like actually tackling some like wildfires, then the area is large, right? So then we need a map of, so I Googled this up. I don't know what the term is I used. Okay, map of fire station in California. That's, so I came across this resource. So I think this is a breakdown of which facilities of different types exist by which set of numbers in the California region. So we have, I don't know if these numbers are accurate though. They should be, right? Because it's on the California Fire website. When I Googled the numbers up, there was something along the lines of 1,900 and something, 990 something fire stations. But I think that number includes all of these other facilities. Because the California Fire websites, according to this PDF, there are 227. Oh, they're Cal Fire facilities. So it could be that there's different fire departments. There's this one state level, and then you have different regions, maybe managing their own set of fire stations. So that's a possibility. But So now you have like it's really, if you look at something like this, then you can see. So we're just gonna close some tabs. Excuse me. Like there's an air attack base, there's a heli attack base, there's a nursery. I don't know what that's going to be used for. There's obviously fire stations. There are conservation camps. There are youth conservation camps. I don't know what the purpose of that would be. Lookout structures, telecommunication tower and vaults. I don't think like they're specifically designed for the fire department to make use of. There are emergency command centers, interagency emergency command centers, state forest visitor centers. All right, so if you keep going down, there's also major water bodies, and that's indicated in blue, so you can see that up on the map. If I was going to be putting out forest fires, I probably want to use, depends on which technology you use. I'd probably want to use water, because you could put out the fire and not impact the ecology in some adverse ways, or leave a residue, or yeah, like no long-term effects, or like, you know, negatively impact the life forms living there or something like that. It really depends. I mean, if you're like, okay, no, like, you know, we don't have any restrictions, in theory, you could like talk to somebody like Boston Dynamics, and Boston Dynamics could have an army of robots that you would position all across the state, if not the country. And the robots would be semi-autonomous, but there would be very transparent and clear lines of engagement in regards to how the robots can actually go in and, you know, whether they have to chop down trees or clear the bush, or, you know, like the, what do you call it, the dry leaves and whatnot. So how something like that could happen. But like, I mean, that's a bigger question in regards to how we actually are, like, you know, is a question of how society is designed, because there's also a security element to something like that. So like if the security of something like that is cracked, that would be pretty bad, because you have like a lot of these robots, and then the security. This is like all these different options, but like, I don't know which option is best, and there's all these trade-offs, or pros and cons at least, of incorporating any one of these I guess strategies, for lack of a better word. But I think I think like a long-term strategy would have to be devised. I'm not a conspiracy guy, and I'm not a climate scientist, and I don't know what's going to happen from a climate perspective. So when I was looking at this issue last year, yeah, I did mention we have to rethink how cities are designed, but I spent the first part of the issue kind of looking at like what the data suggests in terms of NASA data. And then I went into, you know, like you can look at things like I was going to say crop circles, tree rings. So you can look at like tree rings in order to be able to tell how much rain the land has been experiencing, and you could like, and I had some ideas around how like data from and this is why I'm such a big proponent of basic research. But anyway, so uh, what I was saying is we could like automate this mechanism to like be able to understand what the trends are to date, and you know, come up with some kind of a model, predictive model of where these what these this trend in particular mixed and like match with some of the other trends may posit. Like again, I'm not a climate scientist. I don't know what some of these other trends would be, but maybe it's precipitation in the air, maybe it's the pattern that the winds are blowing, or you know, like the level of water in the aquifers and underground water tables. Like when you mix and match these different data sets, you might be able to predict what kind of conditions, climate conditions, will be present in a given part of the world for like certain duration. Now, the earthly climate is quite dynamic in nature, is like definitely more in the domains of fluid dynamics. But so that being said, uh, you know, the search term I used is mega drought California, because I read at some point that there was a time in California's history whereby a drought existed, I think, for 900 years or like 1,000 years. Um, and California region is basically a desert. And the conditions large parts of California experience today is, I think, I could be wrong about this, it's an anomaly, meaning there's this period of rainfall, and somehow California is experiencing these conditions which make it possible for a lot of forests and vegetation to well, there's water, and so this creates a condition whereby there can be vegetation, and then obviously then you can have civilization thriving in a situation or a surrounding like that. But if the actual conditions whereby California being a desert uh, come back for whatever reason, and they happen to persist for a longer time stretch, then that could be very problematic. Uh, I don't think it's a doomsday situation though, but it would require, in my uneducated perspective, some mega engineering projects whereby, um, first of all, you'd have to figure out how to get water across such an expanse, like we're talking about a lot of land. So like and this is just like California. Like this could happen in many other parts of the world, and I think we should think about this. So I mean, you may say, well, we're going to desalinate the water and we're going to dig up canals and we're going to have a canal system. But again, that also creates like unintended consequences whereby, and I've spoken about this in many different times, but if you take out too much of the seawater, it's like, you know, right now only a handful of countries are doing it around the world. So the impacts on the ocean is not going to be that much. It's just a simple physics or mathematical like question. But if you have like a couple 100 million people doing it, we're going to start seeing impacts on the ocean, because the ocean is full of microscopic life, which the krill eat, and then the krill is eaten by the other fish, and then, you know, like that's kind of like how the life forms in the oceans exist. But yeah, like if we're sucking out a lot of the water out of the oceans for the purpose of desalinating, providing desalination, say, like, you know, hypothesize there are breakthroughs in energy, and maybe we have clean fusion, which will require fission as a like a background or backdrop or whatever, like for as a base. But anyway, so like whatever or we have created like 80 to 100 gigafactories, or is a combination of the two, or something else. So say we have a breakthrough, like a core breakthrough in energy, and we can desalinate a lot of the water. Again, it goes back to the point I raised, that you don't want to sequence, like you don't want to sequence. So I was going to say, you don't want to like take out a lot of the water from the oceans, because that would really destabilize the overall ecology with like, you know, how life sustains in the oceans itself. Coming back to the mega drought, again, I don't know what the data suggests, but if there is a mega drought kind of situation, and you have the water tables. And I was talking to somebody, and they were telling me about the 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 snow in the northern parts of California. Well, obviously, when it melts, so like contributes to the water table. But if these are like, I don't, again, I don't know, like I don't know what the data suggests. So, but if this becomes a trend with regards to the drought kind of conditions, and you have like fires happening every year, then some other strategy is going to be required. So definitely not a, just kind of like thinking of ways whereby a long-term solution could be developed. Oh, I forgot to mention my own, I guess, idea of, so the proposed invention of most of the videos I've put out in the past couple of months, this one's got a couple of hits. So the invention that I was thinking of is obviously for Venus. The intended purpose of this invention is to sequester the carbon from the atmosphere of Venus using a direct capture method. So this is something I made in Blender. Excuse me. And I hypothesized this would be something that would have a module, a cavity whereby the carbon is going to be sequestered. What's going to be done with the carbon once it's actually sequestered is a good question. We want to get it out of the atmosphere, so it's going to, like, through some construct, push it into orbit, and it's going to be sequestered at some facility. And I spoke about how this thing is going to be powered and whatnot. I don't think this is useful. I don't think we should launch this in the atmosphere of Earth for some of the reasons that I shared. Just to recap, the safety of like life and limb of humans. We have a lot of humans on Earth. To the best of our knowledge, there is no life, even bacterial life, on Venus. So on Venus, we could have millions of these launched without any harm or prospect of harm coming to a life form. On Earth, we can't do that. The other issue is what I mentioned in terms of the ecology. Like if you have a lot of these devices sequestering the carbon on Earth, then it may end up having an impact on the ecology as well with regards to like particularly insects. So we don't want that. But like I was thinking, like what if you could retrofit drones for the purpose of, in this case, not sequestering, but detection and deterrence. So you detect the fires, and you have some kind of mechanism to put them out, kind of nip them in the bud. These are a series of questions. I think the AfWerx kind of model should be explored in a fire context, and eventually it will but eventually it would blossom into like a mushroom is not a bad word, but because it's like, you know, it's like a replication, right? But you just don't want replication, you want different iterations. So eventually it would blossom into like a series of different networks for the purpose of having adequate loops that would contribute to preemptively tackling any issues that may come about as a result of the issues. As a result of the issues. Getting tired. The issues that are going to come about as a result of climate change. So whether it's the food supply getting impacted, or we could expect a large number of people moving from one place to another, how to tackle that in a humane and intelligent way. To, like, you know, I already mentioned fire, the state of the oceans. So there's going to be a lot of issues coming our way between now and the next 25, 30 years. And I think we're going to need increased collaboration between well, different departments that we have entrusted for doing a different, providing different services. But I think the rate of innovation would have to go up. And I'm pointing towards institutions, no, I'm not pointing, but I'm referring to institutions that have a track record of innovation, like USAF, United States Air Force, and other institutions, whereby a systematic way of enabling innovation has been structured. And we can borrow from these designs to be able to see more innovation across different areas. So I don't know if this video is useful, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking of right now. I don't want to end it on like showcasing my invention, because it looks like I'm trying to plug my invention here. That was not my intention. My intention, if anything, is to just share. I think what I'm trying to say is like the rate of innovation would have to go up, but it has to go up in a sustainable manner whereby we don't end up like negatively impacting some part of the ecology. At the same time, sorry, my alarm's gonna go off. Yeah, at the same time, we should have the mechanisms in place, and the investments are already in place. So as a species, we're able to deal with the issues as they arise. In an ideal situation, there would already be insurance against the issues that we may experience on Earth, in the solar system, in the galaxy. But you got to start somewhere, and I think we should be ready for the changes by doing the training today. So we should train every day for events like this, and this will require investments, and it will require global cooperation. And this is my short take on this. In parallel, we should continue building for the future, not to sound all that, but like, we're not going to be dealing with like just issues on Earth. I was talking to somebody last week, and so we should continue to make life multiplanetary, because these are like I guess you could kind of like look at this from a Kardashev scale model too. Is like we're like a type 0 civilization going towards, like, we're taking steps towards becoming a type 1 civilization. I can stop sharing video, I guess, or the screen at this point. And oh, what is this? Yeah, yeah, so I think all of these activities can happen in parallel. We have 7 billion people on the planet, so a lot of opportunity training people for roles to make earthly life go from type 0 to type 1, as well as taking the steps to become multiplanetary. And all of these activities and work can happen in parallel. So focusing on the issue of the fires in California, what I'm proposing is a more of a AfWerx kind of a model to push innovations that are specifically geared and designed for tackling the issue of fires, specifically forest fires. And we have to rethink this from the ground up and leverage the wisdom of the crowds to be able to come up with designs that can solve the problems in a safe and ecologically friendly way. This is the gist of my video today. Thanks for watching.